There are a number of things that I'd like people to take away from the book. First of all, it is possible for them to make improvements in their workplace if they follow a set, disciplined process, and that's what I describe in the book. I'd also like that readers believe that they can learn lessons from their experience and past events, and they should not be satisfied with second best, and they should encourage their colleagues to do likewise. By learning lessons, I mean to stop things from happening again that are unnecessary or wasteful. And it's also important that facts are more powerful than emotion, rumour or supposition. And so when they have a problem, they should gather as many facts as possible about that, record them, publish them, and let everybody who's involved see them. Bullies and workplace harassment are just not acceptable, and often during an improvement project, the boss comes along and says, "Oh, I've seen that problem before. All you've got to do is change this and it'll work, trust me. Just get on with it, will you?" Well, if it's seen it before, then it's happened a second time, and perhaps it's not the best answer to the problem. So it's most important that, first of all, you've got to do what your boss tells you to do. So you do that, but then you also get on with some structured, recorded investigation and document that so that you've got an argument for what you found. That way the system learns and not just the people. So those are the ideas I'd like the reader to take away. Quite often on television, after some serious mishap or unfortunate chain of events, we get politicians or senior directors saying, "Oh, lessons must be learned." And I've often wondered whether they really know what that involves. You wonder whether people know how to learn lessons. And the expression means we don't want this to happen again. We've got to prevent it from happening again. And how do we get work to go right first time? So in my book, I explain how any team can identify the changes that should be made by using a disciplined 6-step problem-solving process. Implementing these changes will help to eliminate the causes and so prevent the problem from happening again. However, and it's a very important point, not only do people have to learn, but the system has to learn too. The system learns through changes to documented methods, training, software and equipment. And unless something changes, the problems will continue. Where good quality assurance systems are in place, there will be well-established routines to follow to prevent reoccurrence of the initial problem. This book will guide the reader through some of these routines. To learn lessons from mistakes, those in authority at an appropriate level have to follow the 11 questions that I list in the book. If they do not, the lessons will be forgotten and the same problems will occur again and again because the system has not learned. Let me give you an example. A technician uses new devices on a regular basis that come from a supplier, but at the moment they're misaligned. The technician knows how to realign them to make them work. And when that technician goes on holiday, the holiday relief technician is not aware that that piece of equipment is unusable because the realignment is only known to one person. The system has not learned. The first technician thought that they were helping, but not really. All they were doing was applying a sticking plaster. And by the way, I was there to see that for myself. Two things should have happened. Firstly, the bulk of these items should have been returned as faulty back to the manufacturer, and the new supplies should have been checked for conformance to design. But to keep the work going, a temporary work method should have been used, telling everyone how to make the realignment until such time that satisfactory supply was restored. All these ideas are particularly important in 2018 because resources are becoming more and more stretched, and there is a need to prevent as many human, systemic and material errors as possible. Well, first of all, it's a how-to book, and it's written for anyone in healthcare, and it covers all they need to know under one cover. There's lots of material around on the internet, but in my book, I try to tell a story from start to finish so that anyone can read it and understand what the process is that they're being asked to follow. It's probably the first book written specifically for healthcare workers to show in detail the steps needed to solve problems and learn lessons in healthcare work. To make it a how-to book, I explain in detail 6 steps of a problem-solving process. First of all, they have to recognise that there actually is a problem. So often, things start to happen that are not quite acceptable, but nobody says, hang on a minute, that shouldn't be happening. We need to stop and just reassess what we're doing. So that recognition is often quite a skill. Then they've got to understand and define the problem and decide how it will be measured. Earlier on, I mentioned the fact that facts are important. And so a little bit of research is needed just to understand exactly what the problem is and define it quite precisely, and define how it will be measured and how improvements will be demonstrated. So then you've got to move on to step 3, which is to research and identify the root causes. And that can be quite a long process, and that's where it's important to put up on a wall all of the things that you think could be causing the problem. And people can gather round and they can make notes and change it. Then, the hardest part is to remove those root causes, and that can take quite some time. And finally, in step 5, prove that the problem has been eliminated or greatly reduced. And step 6, to celebrate success and close the project. It is so easy for people to come along and say, well, you've taken that to there, could you not just add this or add that? And if you're not careful, the project goes on forever and nobody actually sees the benefit of what was first achieved. So it's important to celebrate success and close the project. Furthermore, in celebrating success and closing the project, you've got to publish the results and let people see what has been achieved. My book is written for both the medical frontline and the support staff who work in the back office. The book is useful at all levels of professionalism, even trust directors and cabinet ministers, especially when it has been said that most problems can be traced back to poor management decisions, and some people have said 95% of problems have been caused by management. The techniques I explain in the book will apply to any English-speaking country in the world. The book is easy to read with as little jargon as possible, but hey, as far as jargon's concerned, every technique has words that have special meanings. And finally, the book is written from my heart. I have a master's degree in electrochemistry, having graduated in pure chemistry from King's College, Newcastle, which at the time was part of Durham University. I also have a diploma in management studies, and I've been a fellow of the Institute of Quality Assurance, gained through industrial practice. Well, during my career in management consulting, I was most influenced by Tom Peters, who is still regarded as a guru achieving excellence in business. He's written about the importance of the customer and giving customer satisfaction. And even though many service industries don't like the word customer, preferring patient in healthcare, traveller for travel, and student for education, the principle of giving total satisfaction is still vital in giving good service. Two other world leaders who I've admired in quality assurance are J. Edwards Deming for his work with Japanese vehicle manufacturing and Philip Crosby for his insistence on the principle of doing it right first time. His first major work in 1979 was called Quality is Free, and this title means there's an extra cost when the required quality is not achieved the first time, and in some circles that's known as rework. I mentioned it earlier and called it remedial work as far as the health service is concerned. Well, being retired, I'm probably a lot older than most other Taylor and Francis authors, and I see that as an advantage in that I can bring that life experience to bear in my writing. Regarding my writing, because my father, Squadron Leader Jack Collins, DMC in Bar, was killed in Normandy in 1944 when I was 4 years old, one of my consuming hobbies has been researching his work with the Royal Air Force in World War II. Such a strong story evolved from that work that I created a book called Discovering My Father, which I published in 2012. Having put that book together, writing it, formatting it and setting it out for the printer, I got so much enjoyment from the creative process that I had the confidence to create this book, Problem Solving for Healthcare Workers. Regarding my writing style, during my time as management consultant with Price Waterhouse, when I was training trainers in continuous quality improvement with prestigious clients, I was taught to prepare training materials in the style of the red top newspapers. That meant using simple words in short sentences and avoiding technical jargon as far as possible. It was also very important to avoid ambiguities or double meanings.